3 days after Chu Ling's visit, Jun Suanxiao declared himself emperor of the Da Jing. With the change in ruler, the new emperor changed the dynasty's name to Jing. Every official and nobles came to congratulate. The newly crowned Emperor Xuan became the founder of the Jing dynasty. His first decree came as a shock to everyone. He ordered the abolishment of the harem and to crown Shen Yu as the only emperor consort. He actually did it. As his decree opposes tradition, the officials were against such a decree, and they were not shy in voicing their opinions. One of the officials exclaimed that such a decree has not been done before. Having only a male consort is not the wisest choice. As founder of the Jing Empire, his dynasty will not last long if there will be no heirs. They tried to convince him to resign this decree as it will make him seem like a fool in the history books. They urged him to reconsider in order for the empire to prosper. Jun Suanxiao simply regarded them with an impatient expression. He arrogantly told them that it was never his aim to be a wise emperor for the history books. If no one has not placed a man as an emperor consort in the past, then he should be the first. He reminded them of the fate that awaited the imperial astronomers who petitioned to have Shen Yu killed. Jun Suanxiao ordered for the imperial astronomer to be punished severely. Let's just say he can't look at the stars anymore and spew false prophecies. This seems to silence the officials. Jun Suanxiao acknowledged that as Shen Yu is a man, he won't be able to bear him children. He gleefully challenged them in nominating someone whom they found suitable. Thinking that they finally made him see reasons, the official advised that the suitable person should be someone that Jun Suanxiao likes and one who could be entrusted in running the kingdom. Without batting an eye, the official recommended Shen Rufei. Jun Suanxiao addressed the official by name. His name is Shi Guangcheng. He asked the official how much bribe he took from Magistrate Shen to make such a recommendation. He is aware of the two officials' close tie, and that it was Shi Guangcheng who endorsed a member of the Shen family to be a bride to the emperor. He expressed his displeasure of people who form allies for personal gain. He dismissed the kneeling officials and ordered the guards to take Shi Guangcheng to the Dali court. He plans to convict him at a later time. Shi Guangcheng begged for his life as guards dragged him out of the throne room. His screams fell on deaf ears as the other officials cowered low to Jun Suanxiao, who stood up to tower above them menacingly. The new Emperor Xuan asked the remaining officials if they have further suggestions. Fearing that they will anger the emperor and meet the same fate as Shi Guangcheng's, the remaining officials chose to stay quiet. Jun Suanxiao looked down on them imperiously, and with finality, he told them that he does not want their objections over his choice of consort. Anyone who voiced their objections shall be punished by death. Following Jun Suanxiao's declaration, the harem was disbanded and all of the previous Emperor Yi's concubines were sent away from the palace. This includes Shen Rufei, who found it hard to accept the fact. Shen Rufei alighted the carriage that was supposed to take her to the North City. The coachman objected to her actions, but she brushed him off and told him that she will go to the North City by herself. Still seething from her defeat, she traveled on foot muttering curses to herself. If it had not been for the dumb mute, Shen Rufei would have been in his place. She would have been the Empress consort. You're the one who switched places with him. No take-backs. She does not intend to go back to North City as she can't face the shame of being thrown out by the new emperor over a dumb mute. She will be the butt of jokes. Her musings made her walk towards another traveler who rudely asked her if she was blind. Rubbing her sore face, which colluded harshly with the traveler, she cursed at him and demanded that he let her through. When she got a good look at the traveler, he is a tall, robust-looking man. He wears an eye patch on his right eye. Looking down on her with his lone left eye, he agreed to letting her pass, but not before having a chat with her. Who is this guy? New character unlocked. At Shen Yu's new home, Jun Suanxiao called out to Shen Yu to announce his presence, but his call was met with silence. He suspects that Shen Yu is still mad at him for making him his emperor consort. It has been a few days since the announcement, but Shen Yu has not relented and continued to ignore him. He let out a sigh, summoning all the patience he could muster, proceeded to pound the door as hard as he can. He called for Shen Yu to open the door so that he could explain. He reasoned that he only did it so that the whole world knows that Shen Yu is his. He did it so that no one would dare cause Shen Yu harm. He continued to pound the door while promising that he will let Shen Yu go anywhere he likes, do anything he likes, and continued to live freely. To Jun Suanxiao's surprise, the door creaked open. In his relief, he quickly dashed inside, satisfied that Shen Yu finally opened the door for him. Shen Yu walked away from him, keeping to himself that he only allowed him in as he knows that Jun Suanxiao will smash the door open if he does not let him in. The bear, I meant. Jun Su-on-shou tried to gain Shen Yu's favor by offering him expensive books to read. All of the books he got and the ones brought from his mansion are all exclusive copies. Shen Yu thanked him flatly. Jun Su-on-shou asked Shen Yu if he is still angry at him for making him his only consort. Shen Yu answered him with a sharp no. Shen Yu knows that being angry will do him no good as it will not change Jun Su-on-shou's mind. Jun Su-on-shou misunderstood what Shen Yu meant and took it as Shen Yu forgiving him. His eyes took Shen Yu's beautiful appearance in. With his hair wet from his bath, droplets trailed down his hair, his chin, his neck down to the chest that is covered by a thin robe. Jun Su-on-shou felt like a man stuck in a desert dying from thirst. Under the guise of preventing Shen Yu from getting a headache due to his wet hair, he offered to dry his hair for him. Shen Yu did not respond, which Jun Su-on-shou took as his consent. He took a towel and draped it over Shen Yu's shoulders to prevent the wet hair from damping his clothes. Jun Su-on-shou feels hot. Although Shen Yu and him has been sleeping on the same bed together, he has not touched Shen Yu in a long while. He yearns to hold him again. Jun Su-on-shou decided to test the waters by leaning closer. Shen Yu felt something poking at his back. Realizing what it is, he grabbed a folding fan and smacked Jun Su-on-shou right in the birdie. The crows flew to the skies, hinting at Jun Su-on-shou's loss of happiness. Jun Su-on-shou remarked that Shen Yu was trying to ruin his happiness as he keeled over in pain. Shen Yu paid him no mind. Admitting defeat, Jun Su-on-shou turned around to take care of his birdie. I meant, his wounded pride. Shen Yu covertly watched him leave. It is only when Jun Su-on-shou has left that Shen Yu raised his head as he thinks that Jun Su-on-shou deserved getting hit in the nuts. The sun has set. Jun Su-on-shou approached his emperor consort, who has been poring over books all night. He encouraged his hobby of reading books, but cautioned him to not forget to eat. Shen Yu absent-mindedly reached out towards his bowl of soup, but did not even spare it a glance. Watching Shen Yu consuming the soup relieved Jun Su-on-shou. A eunuch entered the room to remind the newly seated emperor that it is time to leave. Jun Su-on-shou left with the eunuch, but not before telling Shen Yu where he is going and promising that he would return soon. The eunuch reminded him to be more careful with his health. With the door shut, Shen Yu continued to pore over his books. When he finished, he put the book back on the stack. As he decides on which book to read next, a folded letter trapped between a book's pages. Curious, Shen Yu opened the letter only to be shocked by what he read. The scene of a man being beheaded flashed in his mind's eye. A mother and a son, hugging each other. But the mother's attempt to shield her son from the ghastly sight was for naught. The child saw what happened to his father. Shen Yu tucked the letter back between the pages of the book, his body shivering in shock. He stood up. His mind made up, he turned around, eager to leave. The book keeping the letter safe falls on the desk, dislodging the letter. The letter falls to the floor. What could be in that letter? It is alt in the evenings when Jun Su-on-shou returned home. With light footsteps, he carries a chest containing medicines for Shen Yu. He let out a small cough, but his mind is far from his own well-being. His mind set on making Shen Yu feel better. A guard came rushing to him and bent down in a low bow, reporting that the imperial consort is nowhere to be found. Irritated at the guard's incompetence, he asked what happened. The guard explained that Shen Yu disliked being followed. Thinking that Shen Yu only went out to get some fresh air, they honored his wishes. But when he did not return after an hour, the guard traced his steps but did not find Shen Yu. The guard fearfully asked for Jun Su-on-shou's punishment. Jun Su-on-shou grabbed the lapels of the guard's robe and angrily asked if he noticed something different with Shen Yu. He turned his back on the guard, promising the guards and his family's demise should something happen to Shen Yu. Jun Su-on-shou entered the study to find Shen Yu. He found the letter on the carpeted floor. It is a report written by Jun Su-on-shou that was meant for Xiao Xia, who was only a prince at the time. Xiao Xia has been obsessed with the Chu family's treasures and wanted to use it as an advantage in his plans to become emperor. The Black Feather Army, led by Jun Su-on-shou, did the dirty work for Xiao Xia. The report described a family of 3 that was captured by the soldiers: a father, a mother, and their son. To allow his family to escape, the father sacrificed his life. Before Jun Su-on-shou can send the letter, Xiao Xia's father passes away, leaving the kingdom in disarray. Jun Su-on-shou was ordered to return to the capital, and he never gave the letter a second thought. Sweat trickled down the side of his face as he put 2 and 2 together. The family described in the letter is Shen Yu's family. As dread sunk in, Jun Su-on-shou dropped the letter. his well-being taking a turn for the worse as he coughed. He bowed his head in defeat and covered his face. His hand is sweaty and clammy. Shen Yu now thinks that it is Jun Suangshou who killed his father. As commander of the North who only knew blood and death, a family that died a long time ago is nothing to him. Little did he know that he would someday cross paths with Shen Yu, whom he gave his heart to. There will be more to atone for. All this stress is not doing good on his failing health. His only thoughts on Shen Yu. His body is being wrecked with coughs. A foreboding feeling sunk to his guts as he saw that he coughed up blood. Shen Yu knocked on the doors of a large mansion. A weary Chu Ling opens the door for him, and is surprised at the sight of Shen Yu. Much more surprising is that Shen Yu came without guards, or Jun Suangshou. Shen Yu told him that he came alone as Chu Ling allowed him to enter. Being a good host, Chu Ling offered him food, but Shen Yu cut him off. Shen Yu declared that he will come with Chu Ling back to their family. Our boy Shen Yu is finally leaving Jun Suangshou. The rain pours down harshly as a lone carriage trudges through the forest outside of Dajing. The two occupants are Shen Yu and Chu Ling. Chu Ling attempts to gauge Shen Yu's resolve. He needed to make sure that Shen Yu would not change his mind. Should he give the slightest hint that he wanted to go back to the emperor, Chu Ling intends to return him to Jun Suangshou. He does not want to endanger his people over a passing whim of a young man. Shen Yu looks him in the eye and without hesitation. He insists that he wants to go. Deep down, Shen Yu is unsure if he really wanted to leave Jun Suangshou, although he suspects that the new emperor's kindness is all a lie. However, Shen Yu cannot bring himself to stay with his parents' murderer. Convinced that Shen Yu is telling the truth, Chu Ling smiled at him. The sullen atmosphere between cousins was interrupted by a loud bang from outside. Chu Ling was the first to spot the arrow coming their way. He dived down to protect Shen Yu from the attack. Thanks to Chu Ling, both are unharmed. Shen Yu looked at the arrow in shock. The feather attached to the arrow is made from eagle feathers, which can only mean that they are being attacked by the Huns. A group of savage men awaited them from outside the carriage. A man, presumably their leader, called for Mu Ya, which is Chu Ling's name when he is undercover as the Zuoyu King's advisor. Chu Ling got out of the carriage and dropped the arrow that attacked him and Shen Yu to the ground. He noticed that the man who led the attack is Wu Liangyu, who is the confederate of the Han royalty. Without fear, he asked Wu Liangyu what he wanted. The leader of the Hun shot back that he only wanted to see the emperor's consort. Tension rose as the two parties stood at odds with each other. Chu Ling opened the door to the carriage to show that it was empty. He denied Shen Yu's presence and reasoned that Emperor Xuan will not let his emperor consort go without a fight. He'd be the first to hunt down Chu Ling. Wu Liangyu insisted that Shen Yu is among them as a woman told him what transpired between Shen Yu and Jun Suangshou. The provisions they received from Zuoyu does not compare to the chance of blackmailing Emperor Xuan. Chu Ling realized that their odds are not looking good as the Huns approached. He made a quick decision. He slapped the horse, pulling the carriage hard. His own guards surrounded him to protect him, allowing him to escape. Wu Liangyu spat out orders to not let Mu Ya escape, but to keep him alive. He pulled at his reins to ran after the emperor consort. Shen Yu holds to the reins tightly as he urges the horses to run faster. Wu Liangyu close at his heels, toying with him as the vile man calls him beauty. The Hun draws his sword and slashes at the horse, causing them to throw the carriage off kilter. The poor horses, Shen Yu loses his grip on the reins and is thrown off the carriage. The Hun finally had the chance to look at Shen Yu fully and exclaim at his beauty. He finally understood why Emperor Xuan is enamored by Shen Yu, who is even more beautiful than most women. Shen Yu weakly told him to release him. The Hun grabbed his wrist, his lone evil eyes staring him down. Wu Liangyu wanted to have a taste of the emperor consort, loved by Jun Suangshou. It would be a good way to exact revenge on the man who cut off one of his eyes. Luckily, the Hun is not able to bring his evil plan to fruition as a hand grabbed him from behind, choking him. Out of breath, he tried to look at his captor only to be met by unforgiving eyes. Wu Liangyu asked who it is, to which his captor answered him chillingly. He is the Grim Reaper. As lightning struck above, its light shone on Jun Suangshou, who came to collect his bride. He came. In the nick of time, he came. Jun Suangshou drops the Hun leader to the ground while looking down at the vile man's body. His eagle eye focused on Shen Yu and quickly ran after him. Shen Yu slumped against a tree, unconsciously. Relieved that Shen Yu is alive, he looked at him remorsefully as he feels guilty. Yet again, he is the cause of Shen Yu's suffering. He carried his emperor consort off the cold ground, wishing that he had found him earlier so that he did not have to be subjected to such trauma. He took Shen Yu away from the Wu Liangyu's body and took respite under a big tree that shields them from the rain. He promises the sleeping Shen Yu that he will take him home when the rain stops. A bitter taste assaulted his tongue as he realized that Shen Yu does not want to come home with him. As much as he wanted to keep Shen Yu from suffering, he knows that Chu Ling won't be able to keep him safe. The unconscious Shen Yu shivered in fear and stooped down to hug him. Jun Su Ansho's heart beat rapidly as he allowed Shen Yu to hold him. He reminds himself of his decision before he left the palace to run after Shen Yu. He promised himself that whenever Shen Yu needs him, he will be there even if it kills him. He lifted Shen Yu up to his lips, marking this promise with a deep kiss. Shen Yu is not spared from the trauma even in his sleep as he hears the vile man threaten him. He wondered where he was. He felt cold, but two warm hands enveloped him in an embrace. While the feeling is familiar, he cannot tell who it is. Could it be Jun Suanshao? Shen Yu woke up from his fevered dream. He feels a hand dabbing a wet cloth on his forehead. He sat upright as he observed that the man whom the hand belongs to is not Jun Suanshao. A masked man, dressed in black, tends to him. His smoldering eyes watched him closely. Shen Yu asked the masked man who he was but received no answer. Chu Ling enters the room happily calling his name, relieved that Shen Yu is awake. The masked man observed Shen Yu's relieved expression closely, then got off the bed when Shen Yu's attention was directed to her brother Chu Ling. Shen Yu asked where they are, to which Chu Ling answered that they took respite in an inn and that they are out of danger. Chu Ling apologized for what happened to Shen Yu, who was unconscious for a full day. Shen Yu told him that he did not have to apologize as it was him who insisted on leaving in the middle of the night. As Shen Yu pieced together what happened, he distinctly remembered someone who came to his rescue. He asked Chu Ling if it was him who saved him. After a beat, Chu Ling answered that Shen Yu was frozen cold and had a concussion when he brought him to the inn. He did not answer the question directly, but he hinted that it was him who saved Shen Yu. Shen Yu had mixed feelings at finding out that it was Chu Ling who saved him. He realized that Jun Suanshao would drag him back to the capital if it was him who saved him. The masked guard stood silently in the corner. Changing the topic, Chu Ling offered him a bowl of porridge. Shen Yu thanked him but insisted on drinking the porridge himself. Chu Ling playfully told him that he does not need to act so politely in front of him. Shen Yu insisted that he does not want to be a burden to anyone. This answer seemed to have saddened Chu Ling, but he relented. He caressed Shen Yu's head like a big brother would as he warned Shen Yu to not be hasty to avoid choking on the soup. He remembered the masked guard looming above them and introduced him to Shen Yu as his bodyguard. Curious, Shen Yu asked why the man is wearing a mask. Chu Ling explained that it is a custom in their family to hide their assassins' faces. He tells Shen Yu that the other guards are wearing masks as well. Shen Yu readily accepted this explanation and continued to chat intimately with his cousin. Their close proximity bothers the masked guard, who stands while brooding in the corner. His silent musing was interrupted by Shen Yu casually addressing him, politely acknowledging that he shall be in the masked guard's care. The masked man's heart thrummed in excitement at seeing Shen Yu smile. Shen Yu turns his attention back to Chu Ling and tells him that they should leave as soon as they can, so that they can avoid getting caught by Jun Suanshao's soldiers. Chu Ling put him at ease by telling Shen Yu that Jun Suanshao ceased his chase. He's letting Shen Yu go. Shen Yu accepted this explanation, thinking that Jun Suanshao finally got tired of him. Chu Ling asked Shen Yu if he is happy now that he's away from Jun Suanshao, to which Shen Yu readily answered that he is indeed happy. The silent guard looked at Shen Yu with sad eyes as he internally lamented Shen Yu's answer. While he is glad that Shen Yu did not see his through his disguise, hearing Shen Yu admit that he is happy to leave Jun Suanshao is like a stab to his heart. The masked guard is Jun Suanshao, who made an agreement with Chu Ling. Chu Ling will not reveal his identity, allowing him to protect Shen Yu as a masked guard. Before leaving capital, he appointed Prime Minister Situ Meiyu to rule Dajing in his place. Jun Suanshao is comfortable with this decision as he knows that the Prime Minister has close ties with Bian Shisi, whom the man has been fawning over. Shen Yu called his attention, sweetly addressing him as Mr. Guard. Shen Yu asks him his name and explains that Chu Ling left to rent a carriage for them. Shen Yu can't sleep and wants to spend the time getting to know his new guard, whom he will rely on with his life. When a few beats pass without any response from the guard, Shen Yu can't help but think of reasons why the guard was not answering him. It could be that there is a rule among the guards to not speak. He finally came to the conclusion and asked the guard if he is mute and does not know sign language. Jun Suanshao considered this as Shen Yu will definitely know it's him when he hears his voice. He nodded, and Shen Yu emphatically promised him that he will not laugh at his disability. He was a mute once, so he understands how it feels. He praised the masked guard for learning kung fu. It won't be hard to teach him sign language. Shen Yu offered the guard a seat as he excitedly offered to teach the guard some sign language. The excitement made Shen Yu dizzy, and he stumbled forward. Thankfully, the guard caught him before he hit the ground. The closeness made Shen Yu embarrassed and apologized profusely to the guard. When he looked up, a sudden familiarity hit him. The guard's eyes bears a striking similarity to Jun Su Anxiao's. Did he get busted so quickly? Caged between the guard's arms, Shen Yu stood frozen while looking at the guard's eyes. This man reminds him of Jun Su Anxiao. He shivers in fear, but quickly rejects the thought. Shen Yu tells himself that Jun Su Anxiao must have found the letter and withdrew his troops out of guilt. There's no way that the greedy Jun Su Anxiao will give up his position as emperor only to play guard to Shen Yu. You should reconsider that thought. Shen Yu shook his head, trying to dislodge the idea of Jun Su Anxiao acting as his guard. Finally making up his mind, Shen Yu sat down to teach his guards some sign language, as it will be easier if they can communicate. He pointed at himself to show the guard the gesture for the words me, us, and you. Jun Su Anxiao's throat tightens as Shen Yu encourages him to learn more signs. He realized how kind Shen Yu is and that he would treat a mute guard with respect. Unable to bear it any longer, he turned around rudely. Thinking that the guard got frustrated by Shen Yu's pace, Shen Yu offered to slow down and show him the signs all over again, but the guard walked away, which baffled Shen Yu. Shen Yu suspects that he might be a bad teacher. This takes me back to when it was Jun Su Anxiao who taught Shen Yu how to write. It was Jun Su Anxiao who was bad at teaching. Unable to keep his feelings from bursting, Jun Su Anxiao left the room and removed his mask to breathe. He finally understood how hard it is to be mute, unable to freely share how you feel or express yourself. It feels as if everyone has turned their back on you, ignoring your presence, disregarding your feelings. Jun Su Anxiao is finally stepping into Shen Yu's shoes. He realizes how difficult it must have been for Shen Yu. Jun Su Anxiao remembers being fully aware of Shen Yu's feelings, but he brushed it aside so that he can realize his great ambition. He deliberately hurt Shen Yu while pretending to misunderstand. He allowed for every bad thing to happen to Shen Yu. When he was framed and slandered, Jun Su Anxiao has been a willing accomplice. He deserves this. Shen Yu is finally opening up to him, but Jun Su Anxiao cannot reciprocate while under the guise of a mute guard. Meanwhile, he had to watch Chu Ling feel more for Shen Yu more than a brother should. Being unable to speak even for only half a day is unbearable, but Shen Yu had to endure this for 18 years of his life. He rubs his face to get rid of the lingering guilt on his visage and on his mask. He is surprised to find Shen Yu asleep, pages depicting drawings of hand gestures strewn on the desk. Jun Su Anxiao was touched by Shen Yu's kindness. Shen Yu took the time to help a mute guard, when it was only a while ago that he almost fainted from fear. Jun Su Anxiao adores this side of Shen Yu. He bends down to carry the sleeping consort and lays him on the bed. Jun Su Anxiao watched him sleep, as long as he can stay by Shen Yu's side. Jun Su Anxiao is satisfied even if they can't communicate, even if he has to hide himself behind a mask. When Shen Yu was feeling better, the party decided to carry on with their journey. The carriage traversed through the national road with a masked guard on horseback planking the side. Jun Su Anxiao touched his chest, making sure that the papers are safely tucked in his robe. These are papers bearing Shen Yu's drawings depicting hand gestures. Jun Su Anxiao happily rode on his horse, treasuring the little gifts Shen Yu and attention that Shen Yu gave him. He rode closer to the carriage and caught a strange conversation between the cousins. He can hear Chu Ling offering to untie something for Shen Yu, to which the consort vehemently declined. Jun Su Anxiao became suspicious. Is Chu Ling offering to untie Shen Yu's belt? He leaned closer to hear better. From inside the carriage, Shen Yu insists on doing it himself and asks Chu Ling if he can see it. Seen what? Chu Ling responded that he can see it and described it as pinkish and as big as a coin. Jun Su Anxiao's perverted mind can only think of one part of Shen Yu that would match such description. He is further agitated at hearing Chu Ling asking to touch it. Jun Su Anxiao was alarmed by Shen Yu's hiss of pain and Chu Ling's soft words of comfort. Jun Su Anxiao's common sense snaps. Thinking that Chu Ling is making a move on Shen Yu, he kicks the carriage door open. Daring to attack Chu Ling, he entered the carriage only to find that Chu Ling was tending to Shen Yu's wound. The three shared an awkward look as Jun Su Anxiao finally realized that the two were talking about Shen Yu's head wound that is about the size of a coin. Shen Yu breaks the silence by asking that guard what is wrong. Jun Su Anxiao realized that he is being stupid. Chu Ling allowed him to save face by asking if the guard wanted to know where the next rest stop is. Jun Su Anxiao nods and Chu Ling applied the medicine on Shen Yu's head. Dotting on his newfound cousin, Chu Ling decided that it is time to rest and eat as there won't be any inns for miles. He pats Shen Yu on the head, promising to return with food. Jun Su Anxiao does not like this brewing closeness between them and confronts Chu Ling. He can tell that the affection that Chu Ling bestows on Shen Yu has breached the affections of an older brother. This surprises Chu Ling and asks Jun Su Anxiao why he would presume such things. As a man who loves Shen Yu, Jun Su Anxiao can tell that Chu Ling's feelings are far more intimate. He argues that even some couples do not act so affectionately with each other, and asks Chu Ling what he wanted from Shen Yu. After a long pause, Chu Ling explained that there are only a few surviving members of his clan. Thus they care deeply for one another. He only cares for Shen Yu as a family should. Jun Su Anxiao tells him to cut his crap. Shen Yu is pure and will not give meaning to such affections, but Jun Su Anxiao can see through Chu Ling. He practically just called Shen Yu dense. It is not uncommon for the Chu clan to marry within their family. Incest alert. He suspects that Chu Ling is hitting on Shen Yu. Chu Ling let out a sigh of relief, glad that he does not need to hide his intentions. He reveals to Jun Su Anxiao that Shen Yu's not a close relative, and that if their ancestry is traced back to 5 generations, they do not share an ancestor. Should Shen Yu fall for him, he is willing to become Shen Yu's life partner. Such a declaration angers Jun Su Anxiao. He grabs the lapels of Chu Ling's robe, vowing to never allow such a thing to happen. He warns Chu Ling not to get close to Shen Yu. The unfinished threat hangs in the air. Chu Ling has no qualms in acknowledging that Jun Su Anxiao wants to kill him should he toe the line. Chu Ling pushed Jun Su Anxiao off of him and tidied his clothes. He challenged Jun Su Anxiao's threat, to which the Emperor Suan pointed out that the threat is merely a warning. Chu Ling pokes at Jun Su Anxiao's insecurity. The Emperor, pretending to be a guard, is lashing out in fear, knowing that his place in Shen Yu's heart is being threatened. He is afraid that Shen Yu would fall in love with Chu Ling. Jun Su Anxiao scoffed, not willing to admit that there is a possibility that Shen Yu will fall in love with another man. Chu Ling observed him closely, poking at the hornet's nest. He asked Jun Su Anxiao why he would willingly take on a disguise so that he can stay with Shen Yu. The fact that he came to warn Chu Ling means that he is afraid of losing Shen Yu. Jun Su Anxiao crossed his arms to his chest, unconsciously protecting himself. He knows that he risks losing Shen Yu's affections. He used to be very confident that Shen Yu will always love him, but it's different now. Jun Su Anxiao realized that loving someone also means being more afraid to lose them. As Jun Su Anxiao sorts through his feelings, Chu Ling finds his predicament laughable. Jun Su Anxiao cuts through Chu Ling's amusement and declares him wrong. Jun Su Anxiao declared that as Shen Yu is his consort, it is only natural for him to protect him. He does not need an excuse. Chu Ling pointed out that Jun Su Anxiao is using his position as emperor to stake his claim on Shen Yu. By doing so, Jun Su Anxiao exposes his insecurity, as he needed to rely on his position and power to make himself confident. Chu Ling refused to back down. In a blink of an eye, Jun Su Anxiao charged towards Chu Ling and punched him in the face. Chu Ling staggered backwards but managed to steady himself. Shocked at the savagery, he gave Jun Su Anxiao a dirty look. Jun Su Anxiao smirked at him, confidently showcasing his strength. He wanted Chu Ling to realize that the former commander of the North need not rely on political power. He can bring Chu Ling down with his fist. I don't think that's the way to go. It's like saying that he's going to use his brute strength if things don't go his way. You're just being a bully. Chu Ling straightened himself and challenged Jun Su Anxiao to a competition. He promised to keep Jun Su Anxiao's identity a secret. He can continue being Shen Yu's guard, which will give him a lot of time with Shen Yu. This way, both of them can have a chance at making Shen Yu fall for them. Jun Su Anxiao does not hide his annoyance, as he pointed out that he will be wearing a mask and he won't be able to speak, which puts him at a disadvantage. Chu Ling shot back that he could find a way to make Shen Yu love him, while Chu Ling will also make his own moves, promising not to lie or coerce Shen Yu. Jun Su Anxiao knows that falling in love with someone whom you can't see or hear their voice is nearly impossible. However, he does not see Chu Ling as a competition. The one that stands between his love and Shen Yu is himself. He accepted Chu Ling's challenge, clarifying that Shen Yu is not to be treated as a prize. Shen Yu must decide for himself who he wants. Chu Ling was surprised at Jun Su Anxiao's sensibility. He apologized for suggesting that they compete for Shen Yu. and admitted that he did not expect that Jun Su-on-shou would consider Shen Yu's feelings. After sizing Chu Ling up, Jun Su-on-shou turned his back to the man and put on his mask. He has a cinnamon roll to seduce. Shen Yu tied the curtains of the carriage door to allow the breeze to enter the carriage. He is surprised to see that Chu Ling's face is swelling. The older man explained that the injury is caused by carelessly walking in the forest and bumping into a tree. What a likely excuse. Shen Yu offered to put ointment on Chu Ling's face. The older Chu can feel the coldness emitting from Jun Su-on-shou and told Shen Yu that he can apply the ointment himself. Is Chu Ling afraid to get hit again? The forest view is beautiful. Shen Yu happily admires the scenery as he leans against the carriage window. Like a moth to a flame, Jun Su-on-shou drew closer to him. Shen Yu decided to move to the other window to enjoy staring at the wonderful sights, but each time he settled on his side, the guard would pop up blocking his view. Shen Yu slumped on a window, keeping the tears at bay as he politely told the guard that he was preventing Shen Yu from seeing the sights. Embarrassed by his clinginess, the guard moved forward, finally allowing Shen Yu to appreciate the view. Shen Yu can't help but compare him again to Jun Su-on-shou. Shen Yu can feel him watch his every move, yet he feels different. Shen Yu tried to shake the thought, willing himself to stop being paranoid. Trust your gut, Shen Yu. After 10 days, they came upon a valley with little to no inhabitants. As they are nearing the hideout of the Chu family, Chu Ling did allow the carriage drive to come with them and ordered him to go back to the city where he rented the carriage from. When the carriage has left, Chu Ling pulled out a high-frequency whistle and blew on it. Shen Yu, tired from the long journey, asks Chu Ling what he is doing. Chu Ling revealed that it is how they alert their family members. They will soon come to get them. Chu Ling decided to dote on Shen Yu some more, affectionately patting his head. Shen Yu observed that they did not encounter any villagers on their way and wonders where the Chu clan is nestled. The affectionate cousin irked Jun Su-on-shou as he watched their interaction. Chu Ling explained that the Chu family resides at the Baixia mountain. Shen Yu felt the heavy atmosphere between the two but can't figure out the reason. Shen Yu decided to explore the forest a bit but did not stray far from the others. Chu Ling explained that the forest adapts to the weather, but Shen Yu must put on more clothes to protect himself from the chill. A cloak drapes around Shen Yu, and he is surprised that the guard hovers behind him. He is astonished by how considerate the guard is and how gentle he is in spite of his rough exterior. Shen Yu blushes as he tries not to compare him again to Jun Su-on-shou. He realized that Jun Su-on-shou is only after his body. Chu Ling draws his attention by alerting them that the Chu envoy has arrived. A group of 5 men leading 6 horses approached them. They greeted Chu Ling, who quickly introduced Shen Yu as a descendant of the Chu clan, and ordered him to treat him as respectfully as they would treat him. The men agreed. One of them broached the subject in the horses. They only brought an extra horse as they did not know that there would be guests. He asked Shen Yu if he knows how to ride a horse. Shen Yu looked back and forth to Chu Ling and the guard. Thinking that Shen Yu was shaking his head, Chu Ling took the opportunity to have Shen Yu share a horse with him. As Shen Yu was about to accept the offer, the guard lifted him up and put him on top of the horse. His shock caused him to kick and step on the guard's shoulders. Embarrassed, Shen Yu looked away and seated himself upright on the horse. He apologized to the guard, but the man only patted him on the hip, urging him to scoot forward. The guard mounted the horse from behind Shen Yu. When they are properly seated, the guard looked down at Chu Ling, silently gloating. Chu Ling took it in stride and did not chastise the guard for being rude. This guy has the patience of a saint. He assured Shen Yu that he will be safe as his guard will protect him. Shen Yu blushed at their close proximity, but he quickly forgot their position as he excitedly watched the scenery. Meanwhile, Jun Su-on-shou is stiff. Or having a stiffy, this position is uncomfortable as Shen Yu's movements are making it worse. He recites a heart sutra in his head to calm his stiffy. It's been months since he spent quality time with Shen Yu. Shen Yu thinks to himself that he finds the guard's presence to be assuring. When Shen Yu leans back, which made Jun Su-on-shou almost pop a blood vessel. Shen Yu, are you being naughty? They finally arrived at the courtyard of the Chu mansion. Chu Ling dismounted his horse when Shen Yu thanked the guard for letting him ride with him. When he looked up to the man's face, his eyes are red. Shen Yu wonders if a fly hit him in the eye. The man looked at him incredulously, and Shen Yu concluded that the guard must be very happy to be home and that he suppressed tears of joy. Jun Su-on-shou silently blamed Shen Yu for his predicament. His restlessness on the horse made it uncomfortable for him. Chu Ling drew Shen Yu's attention back to him by enticing Shen Yu with treats of seeing his family members. Their great-grandpa is waiting for Shen Yu, so they must hurry to meet him. Chu Ling held Shen Yu's hand, dragging him excitedly towards the mansion. He casually told Shen Yu that his place will be Shen Yu's new home. Jun Su Anxiu can't help but be sad at hearing this. They came upon the Chung Xiang yard where the Chu family members gather. An old man hunched over a walking stick is the great-grandpa of the Chu clan. The old man excitedly beckons Shen Yu to come closer so that he can have a good look at him. He calls Shen Yu by the name Han, which would have been Shen Yu's name if they followed their genealogy. I think they meant their family tree or registry. Chu Ling explained how they are related and encouraged Shen Yu to call the old man great-grandpa like he does. Chu Ling told their great-grandpa that their long-lost family member is now called Yu. The name Han is foreign to him. The old man caressed Shen Yu's face, still calling him by the name Han. He sympathetically acknowledges the hardship that Shen Yu endured. Chu Ling had to remind him once again of Shen Yu's name. The old man set in his ways, wanting Shen Yu to change his name to Chu Han in accordance to their family tree. This does not sit well with Shen Yu. Even if his parents never called him by name, and the name Shen Yu was not his to begin with, he came to love the name and has identified as Shen Yu ever since Jun Su Anxiu called him Yu. Changing his name makes him feel like he's losing a part of himself. The great-grandpa persisted, but Shen Yu stood his ground. Great-grandpa let the matter go. It is only a name after all. Chu Ling told Shen Yu that great-grandpa must have taken a liking to Shen Yu as he is normally more stubborn. Deep down, Chu Ling is having an internal struggle with his feelings as he suspects that Shen Yu wanted to keep his name due to Jun Su Anxiu. Great-grandpa invited them to dinner so that Shen Yu can meet the other family members. It is a sumptuous feast in honor of Shen Yu. Satisfied, Shen Yu went out to the yard, while commending the other family members' intellect and their cooking skills. Shen Yu burps, his face reddening from the alcohol he consumed. Chu Ling put his hand on Shen Yu's shoulder and offered to take the shots Shen Yu had to drink whenever their great-grandpa toasts to Shen Yu. Shen Yu declined as he is happy to drink the toast. Chu Ling escorted him back to his quarters where an angry guard awaits Shen Yu. He's acting like a wife, waiting to nag her husband who came home drunk. The masked guard approached the two and grabbed Shen Yu by the arm. He hugs Shen Yu possessively as he stared Chu Ling down. Chu Ling, ever the gentleman, explained that he is about to take Shen Yu to Chengdu Yard, where Shen Yu's bedroom is. He asked the guard to help Shen Yu with changing his clothes before going to bed. Jun Su Anxiu irrationally blames Chu Ling and his family members for making Shen Yu drunk. He carried Shen Yu bridal style and turned his back on Chu Ling without giving a reply. On the way to Shen Yu's bedroom, Jun Su Anxiu is overcome with feelings. He takes pig at Shen Yu's tired form. He was surprised when Shen Yu's eyes opened, and he nodded when Shen Yu addressed him as Mr. Guard. Shen Yu playfully asked if he has been waiting for him. He poked the guard while asking if he had dinner. In his drunken stupor, Shen Yu asked the guard why he enjoys holding Shen Yu. Shen Yu is unknowingly testing Jun Su Anxiu's limits. Shen Yu reached out to Jun Su Anxiu's face and asks how tiresome it must be to wear it every day. Would Shen Yu tear the mask off? Shen Yu sweetly asked him to remove the mask. Jun Su Anxiu quickly moved his face away from Shen Yu to keep him from removing the mask. Shen Yu pouted at being denied to see the guard's face. He jumped to his feet, then turned around abruptly, promising to keep it a secret. He would have been convincing had he not burped. He raised his hands intending to grab the mask, but he stumbled forward in his drunken state. He blamed the guard for making him dizzy and whined as he did not get what he wanted. Jun Su Anxiu concluded that Shen Yu is utterly drunk, but reminded himself to always keep his guard up as Shen Yu might grab his mask any minute. He proceeded to escort Shen Yu as he is relieved that he can continue to protect Shen Yu as a masked bodyguard. At Chengxiang Yard, Jun Su Anxiu prepared a basin with cloth and water. He brought it to his sleeping Shen Yu intending to give him a bath. Shen Yu smiles in his sleep. When Jun Su Anxiu reached out to him, he opens his eyes enticingly at Jun Su Anxiu. His clothes disheveled, his smile languid and inviting. Jun Su Anxiu almost throat gurgled with excitement. He urges himself to keep calm as he helps clean Shen Yu up. Drunk Shen Yu hugs him, whose robes falls off his shoulders. His sweaty back makes Jun Su Anxiu drool. Restraining himself from biting down on Shen Yu's shoulder, he wiped the drool on his face and helped Shen Yu put on his inner robes. But drunk Shen Yu is not done with him. Shen Yu licks his lips, whining seductively that he is thirsty. This suggestive look on Shen Yu is testing Jun Su Anxiu's self-control. Shen Yu threw himself down on the bed, unknowing of the effect he has on the masked guard. Jun Su Anxiu gathered the self-control from the four corners of the Jing Empire and resolved to wipe Shen Yu down quickly and put him to bed. Shen Yu lays on his back as Jun Suan Shao clean him as carefully as he can. Drunk Shen Yu complained that he feels itchy, then giggled at being tickled. He kicks in the air and collapsed on the bed. Jun Suan Shao is unable to stand it any longer. He lingered for a bit, shakily letting go of Shen Yu's leg, and slaps himself while repeatedly telling himself no. He grabbed the basin of water and quickly rushed out of the room. Jun Suan Shao needed to breathe. He removed the mask and doused himself in cold water. He slammed the bucket down harshly as he thought about how close he got to losing his control. An image of Shen Yu and fireworks flashed in his mind's eye. Cursing, he splashed himself with cold water once more. But Jun Suan Shao is not alone. A lone figure lurks from behind him. Could it be Shen Yu? Is Jun Suan Shao about to be busted? Jun Suan Shao is completely wet after splashing himself with cold water multiple times. A sound alerted him of another's presence, and he harshly asked who it was. A young man came out of the door and introduced himself as Chu Yi. In his hand is an elaborate incense holder, which great-grandpa asked him to bring to Shen Yu to help him sleep. Chu Yi blushed as seeing a handsome man approach him, his muscled chest open to the night air, and Chu Yi's innocent eyes. He rudely took the incense holder, which surprised Chu Yi. Chu Yi concluded that this man is not all polite, but he makes up for it with his looks. Jun Suan Shao examined that incense holder until he was satisfied that it would not cause Shen Yu harm. He tells the young Chu that he will pass the incense holder to Shen Yu and told Chu Yi to leave, not wanting their interaction to end so abruptly. Chu Yi lingered to shyly ask if Shen Yu was already asleep. The other man answered curtly and put on his mask. Without bidding farewell, the masked man left to Chu Yi's disappointment. The next day, Chu Yi approached Shen Yu. When asked the reason for his visit, Chu Yi explained that he came to bring vats of ice to Shen Yu to cool the air in his room. He also tells Shen Yu that Chu Ling and their great-grandpa went out for business. Shen Yu asks where the ice came from, to which Chu Yi explained that they used saltpeter to create the ice and store them in the cellar. Chu Yi's visit is not solely for the purpose of getting to know his new cousin. He wanted to have a glimpse of the man he saw the night before. Chu Ling told him that the man is Shen Yu's bodyguard. He is disappointed that the man is not with Shen Yu. Shen Yu asked him if he wanted to stay. Chu Yi readily agreed and offered some ice cream to Shen Yu, encouraging Shen Yu to try the sweet treat while introducing the two flavors. Shen Yu observed that Chu Yi was looking around and he wondered that the young man wanted to find. Enough of Shen Yu. We'll return to the capital to see what Song Qing has been up to. At the commander's mansion, Song Qing drunkenly laments at his old friend's picture. The boy in the picture is Li Yan. He pulled strings to send as many people as he can to find his friend's whereabouts, but he is missing to this date. A voice teases him from behind, asking him what caused him to drown in sorrow in the middle of the day. Song Qing turned around to find Hong Li Yan fanning himself from the extreme heat. Hong Li Yan crouched down to ask if Song Qing is still mad at him. The other answered by tipping back jar after jar of wine. Hong Li Yan offered that they talk about it while having fun like they did before, but insulted Li Yan in the process. Song Qing threw the jar of wine to the floor, and chastised Hong Li Yan for calling his friend rudely. He tells Hong Li Yan that Li Yan is the most talented person the world has ever known. He is a genius that only appears once in a century. Hong Li Yan teases him that he can do better than this Li Yan as he knows a skill called 18 touches. He playfully showed it to Song Qing, which is a game of where his hand would touch. Embarrassed, Song Qing got mad at him for comparing Li Yan's genius to Hong Li Yan's dirty tricks. Hong Li Yan further angered him by comparing Li Yan's talents with instruments to how well Hong Li Yan can handle the male instruments. Song Qing pushed Hong Li Yan and insulted him for his wanton ways. Unlike Li Yan, Hong Li Yan is a dirty low life. Hey, I know you're drunk, but don't take it out on Hong Li Yan. He just wants to cheer you up. Song Qing noticed the mark on Hong Li Yan's shoulder. He sobered up as he noticed that it is a birthmark similar to Li Yan's. He asked Hong Li Yan if he can have a better look. The other withdrew and covered himself. He explained that it was a tattoo he got following the trend at Qinhu Eye Tower. He advised Song Qing to not think of the mark as his sweetheart's and angered him further by saying that Li Yan kicked the bucket years ago. Song Qing told him to stop talking as sadness smeared on his face. Overcome by emotion, Song Qing dropped down to his knees, calling his previous friend's name. Ridden with guilt, he blames himself for causing death to Li Yan's family. He passes out on the ground while Hong Li Yan stands up. Hong Li Yan surmises that the perfect Li Yan in Song Qing's memory is gone. In his place is the filthy Hong Li Yan. Realizing that their time is over, Hong Li Yan leaves as he is no longer god enough for Song Qing. Don't come back, Hong Li Yan. The servant approaches Song Qing, who was slumped down drunk in his study. When he woke, it was to a splitting headache. He gestured for the servant to quiet down. The servant is relieved that he is all right as Hong Liyan asked him to check on Song Qing. He realized that it was Hong Liyan who helped him up and placed him on the desk. The servant also relayed Hong Liyan's message to leave Song Qing behind and to never bother him. This message surprised Song Qing, while the servant suggested that they send someone to find Hong Liyan. Song Qing declined the suggestion, letting Hong Liyan go. The servant left Song Qing. While alone, he felt hurt that Hong Liyan just left him. Shen Yu thoroughly enjoyed eating the ice cream. Chu Yi encouraged him to eat some more and to try another flavor. Shen Yu happily ate the ice cream and offered some to the obviously envious Chu Yi. The other declined as he wanted Shen Yu to fully enjoy the treat. Shen Yu told him that they can't allow the ice cream to go to waste and convinced Chu Yi to eat some with him. Chu Yi agreed. From out of the corner, a dark figure enters Shen Yu's room. He grabbed the bowl of ice cream that Shen Yu has been enthusiastically digging into. The mute guard towered over him, acting as if Shen Yu did something wrong. Jun Su Angxiao observed the bowls of ice cream that Shen Yu had while worrying about his consort's health. Shen Yu shoved a spoon to his face. His sweet face offered to feed him with a spoonful of ice cream. Jun Su Angxiao was happy that Shen Yu is offering him the treat. Shen Yu took his actions as his excitement in having some ice cream. When no answer came, Shen Yu called him Mr. Guard again. Hu Ling is unsure if this is the same man he met last night as he has a mask on. However, his attitude is definitely similar to the Coldman. Chu Yi asked Shen Yu if this is the bodyguard that arrived with Shen Yu. Shen Yu answered yes, but the guard he knows is far more kinder than this one. Last night, the guard was considerate enough to bring him home and wipe his body. Mid-Night Sky Award goes to... Chu Yi stole glances at the masked guard, admiring the air of confidence he exudes. There's no way this man is a simple guard. Shen Yu asked the guard if he wanted to eat, as he wanted to eat the rest of the treat. Chu Yi offered to go to the kitchen and bring some more, but the guard pinned him with an annoyed look which Chu Yi took as the guard not wanting him here. Sucking on the spoon, Shen Yu observed the two. Finally concluding that Chu Yi has a crush on the guard, Shen Yu decided to play matchmaker and set up the two. Chu Yi lit up when Shen Yu asked the guard to accompany Chu Ai to the kitchen to get some ice cream. Realizing that Shi Yu was setting him up with Chu Yi, Jun Su Angxiao stared at Shen Yu with a look of astonishment. Shen Yu is surprised that the guard seems upset. Perhaps the guards did not like to be ordered around. So Shen Yu offered to go with Chu Yi to fetch the ice cream. It's no biggie for Shen Yu as he wanted more ice cream. Chu Yi kindly told Shen Yu that he does not need to go as he will happily get one for Shen Yu and the guard. The guard stared at him down menacingly for encouraging Shen Yu to eat such unhealthy food. Jun Su Angxiao resolved to take it upon himself to watch Shen Yu's health as Shen Yu does not take his health seriously. Let the man have his ice cream. The masked guard walks away from Shen Yu carrying the bowl of ice cream with him. Shen Yu and Chu Yi can only watch when the guard throws the bowl's contents outside. Shen Yu is surprised by the guard's behavior, while Chu Yi took it personally. The guard is rude in spite of the Chu's family's attempt on being hospitable. Chu Yi's older brother, Chu Lin, had the cellar open so that Shen Yu and the guard could enjoy the treat. Chu Yi has never met such an ingrate. Chu Yi confessed that he wanted to be good friends with the guard. The guard did not acknowledge his feelings and simply handed over the empty bowl. Attempting to comfort Chu Yi, Shen Yu intervened by telling Chu Yi that the guard is probably upset because he wanted to eat the ice cream, but did not want to take the trip to the kitchen. He suspects that the guard is probably angry at himself. How you come up with this conclusion, Shen Yu? Shen Yu expresses his gratitude to Chu Yi, while glancing discreetly at this cold guard. He wonders what could have set off the guard when he's always been so considerate. Chu Yi bowed his head in shame and heartbreak. It seems that guard left quite an impression on him that he felt like it was his feelings that were discarded when the guard threw the ice cream outside. Fuming, he stands abruptly and ran while trying to hide his tears from Shen Yu and the cold guard. Shen Yu called out to Chu Yi, but the consort does not know what to do. He rounded on the guard to ask what was wrong, suspecting that the guard may be under the influence of alcohol. He suspects that the guard is simply mad because he wanted ice cream. Shen Yu leaned closer to the guard to sniff him. The man does not smell of alcohol, so he can't make heads or tails of the guard's behavior. If Jun Su Angxiao could talk, he would have pointed out that it was Shen Yu who was pissed drunk the night before. He's upset that Shen Yu does not understand that he is only worried about his well-being. He is also mad at Shen Yu's attempt to set him up with Chu Yi. A thought suddenly occurred to Jun Su Angxiao. He turned his back on Shen Yu, who wonders if the guard left to apologize to Chu Yi. Chu Yi hugged his knees as he cried his heart out. He wiped his eyes and noticed that the guard was coming towards him. Happy that the guard probably came to comfort him, he decided to play it cool and act hard to get. He stood up to confront the guard and asked if he did not like the ice cream and why did he follow Chu Yi. Jun Suanshao has no idea of what Chu Yi is talking about. His only concern is Shen Yu's health. Chu Yi wrongly expected that the masked guard would apologize to him. Chu Yi plans to forgive the guard and visit Shen Yu frequently in the future, so that he can get closer to the guard. His hopes are dashed when the guard opened his mouth. The guard tells him not to reveal to Shen Yu that he can speak. It was only then that Chu Yi realized that the guard had been pretending to be mute when Shen Yu was around. Jun Suanshao stepped forward and menacingly repeated his order. He towered over Chu Yi, intimidating the younger man to not speak a word to Shen Yu. As the young lord of the Chu family, Chu Yi grew up spoiled and well-loved. Never in his life has he met someone intimidating and war-hardened as Jun Suanshao. When the guard followed him, he expected that he plans to win him over by his sweet apologies, but did not expect to be met with threats. His cold eyes only promise pain, and he can only stand frozen in place. He trembled in fear when the man asked him if he comprehends the order. Chu Yu promised to not let Shen Yu, and quickly ran away from the cold, cruel guard. He bumped into Chu Ling in one of the mansion's many corridors. Chu Ling asks kindly why Chu Yi is crying, when he seems to be doing well that morning. He wonders if Chu Yi had a fight with Shen Yu, and asks if Shen Yu got the ice cream he sent. Chu Yi wasted no time to tattle on the guard. He tells Chu Ling that the guard did not want Shen Yu to know that he can speak. It's affronted that the guard would think of him as a gossiper, and looked at him menacingly like he would kill him. Chu Ling's smiling face turned to a look of concern. He warns Chu Yi to not get close to the guard, and to not do anything inappropriate. Chu Yi protested, but Chu Ling insisted that he follows his older brother's orders. He asked if Chu Yi is keeping anything from him. Chu Yi promised his brother that he will not do anything hastily. Later that day, Great-Grandpa summoned Chu Ling and Shen Yu to his room. A servant announced their presence and the old man welcomed them warmly. Great-Grandpa Chu directed his attention at Shen Yu and told him that the remaining direct descendants of the Chu family were all present in the banquet he partook in the night before. There are only few of them left. There used to be hundreds of them, but Emperor Yi eliminated many of them in his pursuits of finding the Jun Shan mausoleum. The Black Feather Army, led by Jun Suanshao, hunted many of their clan members and they were forced to hide. Shen Yu and his family was separated from the clan and hid in the north. At this, Shen Yu stiffened as he remembered what happened. If it wasn't for the letter, Shen Yu wouldn't have known what happened. Great-Grandpa Chu apologized to Shen Yu for bringing up the tragic past. There is a favor that he wanted to ask Shen Yu. As there are only a few of them left, they allowed members of their family to marry outside the clan. However, they must at least have one descendant whose bloodline is pure. Realizing where this is going, Chu Ling tried to prevent his great-grandpa from making the request, when Shen Yu has only recently joined their clan. Great-grandpa did not heed his words and grabbed Chu Ling's hand, his other holding Shen Yu's, and joined their hands together as if in matrimony. Vouching for Chu Ling's qualifications of being a good husband, Great-grandpa asked Shen Yu if he will marry Chu Ling. Shocked, Shen Yu took back his hand as he only thinks of Chu Ling as an older brother. He does not see Chu Ling as a potential partner. Shen Yu pointed out that they are both men. Therefore, they won't be able to conceive. Great-grandpa did not seem to hear him as he explained that Chu Ling and Chu Yi are brothers, therefore it will be inappropriate for them to marry, leaving Shen Yu as the only choice. Chu Ling tried to stop the old man, his concern for Shen Yu. The old man ignored him and continued to pressure Shen Yu into accepting. He knows that Shen Yu was previously Jun Suanshao's consort, so he should have no qualms in accepting another man like Chu Ling as a husband. This old guy is persistent. Shen Yu disagreed, as what he had with Jun Suanshao is different, even if he can't explain it. Chu Ling shook his head in disappointment and told his great-grandfather that Shen Yu does not see him as a potential partner and asked that he stop pressuring Shen Yu. After a brief silence, Shen Yu brought up that they cannot have a baby as they are both men. Great-grandpa explained that the Chu family once had an emperor who chose a man as his consort. This is news to Shen Yu, who has pored over all the history books in the emperor's library. Great-grandpa continued his tale. The former Emperor Wen and his consort Xian valued their privacy and prevented historiographers from recording it. They were devoted to each other and were buried in the same coffin when they both died. They lived happily as a couple. Shen Yu was inspired by this story and envies Emperor Wen and consort Xian, who spent their lives in love with each other. Shen Yu can't help but compare his situation with them. He's given up on such things. Consort Xian worried that Emperor Wen may never have a successor and tried to convince the emperor to get a concubine. Out of deep love and loyalty, the emperor refused. They finally found a way for two men to have babies together. Shen Yu finds it astonishing for the Chu clan to develop a method to make two men conceive. It is but a miracle. Great-grandpa insisted that it is true, but it will only work with members of the Chu family. However, the doctor who invented the method has long passed, leaving behind only 2 vials of birthing elixirs. Should Shen Yu agree to marry Chu Ling, they shall lead the Chu family, and Shen Yu's bloodline will carry on through many generations. The Chu family members may have dwindled in number, but their wealth and influence is still a force to be reckoned with. But Shen Yu's heart is not set on power and influence. Great-grandpa continued to pressure Shen Yu by reasoning that he could someday fall in love with Chu Ling after spending time with him. Shen Yu found the request ridiculous and walked out of the room. Chu Ling tried to stop him, while Great-grandpa persisted by telling Shen Yu to think it over. Chu Ling followed him outside in the corridor. He told Shen Yu to not feel pressured, although he will be happy to take on Shen Yu as a husband. However, he is kind enough to not force Shen Yu. Chu Ling asked Shen Yu if he understood what Chu Ling was asking him. He clarified that he did not put their great-grandpa into asking Shen Yu the favor, as the request also came to him as a surprise. He did suspect that great-grandpa will ask Shen Yu one day, but not this soon. He said this while reaching for Shen Yu's hand. Shen Yu quickly recoiled and pulled his hand away from Chu Ling. He asked Chu Ling if he is in love with someone. Wouldn't he want to marry the one he loves? Chu Ling responded that he is not in love with anyone. He is only concerned with the continuation of the Chu family. Shen Yu asks if he can sacrifice himself, even if it means that he has to spend the rest of his life with someone he does not love. Chu Ling stepped closer to him while Shen Yu took a step back. Chu Ling tried to explain that even if he just met Shen Yu, he believes that they will live harmoniously as a couple and they may care for each other deeply someday. Shen Yu interjected that he has someone he cares for deeply, someone he wants to mate with and grow old with. Could it be Jun Suanxiao? After his confrontation with Chu Ling, Shen Yu hid in his room. He tried to wrap his head around what Chu Ling said. Chu Ling is willing to sacrifice his happiness for the sake of the clan. He wonders if he should do the same as the members of the Chu family. He hugs his knees to his chest while he sorts out his feelings. Shen Yu does not dislike Chu Ling as he has only been kind to him. Shen Yu also finds him attractive. He wonders if marrying Chu Ling will help him let go of the past. With a heavy heart, Shen Yu buried his head between his knees knowing that he still loves that man. He loves Jun Suanxiao so much that he put him first. He hides his feelings, but the man is irreplaceable in his heart. Soft knocks are heard, but Shen Yu ignores it. The knocks turn thunderous, and then there's silence. Alas, the door opened with a loud bang as the masked guard barged in. When Shen Yu returned 2 hours ago, he allowed him some time to himself. But when he did not hear anything from the room, he can't sit still and decided to barge in. He needed to make sure that Shen Yu was all right. Shen Yu is surprised that he would suddenly appear in front of him. Although Jun Suanxiao noticed that Shen Yu did not look happy when he came back, he only suspected that he must not be feeling well. As a result, he spent the past 2 hours pacing in front of Shen Yu's door. He wonders if something happened. There's only one way to find out. Jun Suanxiao never imagined that he shall be talking to Shen Yu in sign language. Gesturing with his hands, he asks what is wrong. Seeing that the guard is communicating with him with the language that Shen Yu knows too well and cares enough to approach him, the waterworks exploded. Shen Yu cried like a baby, sad at seeing Shen Yu so upset. Jun Suanxiao hugged him. Shen Yu cried so hard, staining the masked guard's chest with his tears. Every feeling that Shen Yu has been suppressing broke out like a dam that broke. His anger when he found the letter, the fear when the Hun assaulted him, the confusion on marrying Chu Ling. He kept all his feelings all to himself. However, when the guard came in to express his care, Shen Yu could not hold back. Jun Suanxiao holds Shen Yu gently as he cries. Whilst he is glad that Shen Yu can rely on him, he does not want to see him sad. This close, Shen Yu can smell the guard's natural scent. He can't help but think how familiar the smell is. It smells like Jun Suanxiao. He hugs the guard tighter, thinking that most men probably have the same smell. As he wipes his tears, he chastises himself for comparing the guard with Jun Suanxiao again. Shen Yu stills for a moment, wondering why he feels a sense of familiarity with this guard. Suddenly feeling bashful, Shen Yu became worried that the guard may think that he is being too forward for real, hugging the man without permission. He pushed the man away. Noticing that the front of his robes are wet with his tears, he apologized to the man and offered to wash his clothes for him. The masked guard shook his head and gently wiped Shen Yu's tears. Jun Su-ansho's perverted brain considered Shen Yu's offer to take off his clothes as an invitation. Get your mind off the gutter. When Shen Yu finally calmed down, he let out a sigh which made the masked guard pat him affectionately on the head. He finally decided to open up to the guard. He asked him if he should marry Chu Ling. Jun Su-ansho stared at him in fear. So, are you Team Chu Ling or Team Jun Su-ansho? Whose side are you on? Let's leave it here for now. Shen Yu needs to make a decision soon.